Welcome to the Explainer. Now, we usually think of monsters as these creatures of pure horror, right? Things designed just to scare us in the dark. But today, we're doing something a little different. We are decoding the incredibly dense, philosophical monologues of some truly bizarre fictional monsters to reveal how they actually view chaos and entropy as the ultimate governing forces of reality.
So, let's dive into this bizarre universe, like detectives uncovering a hidden and honestly kind of terrifying truth. What if these nightmarish creatures are actually just walking, talking metaphors for the inescapable laws of nature? We're going to look really closely at their words to understand how forces like the slow, quiet decay of entropy and the violent, unpredictable nature of chaos aren't just dry concepts in a physics textbook. No, they are the very real puppet masters pulling the strings of literally everything alive.
Take a look at this chilling quote from the giant alien. It perfectly sets our tone today, stripping away all of our comforting illusions right from the get-go. He looks at existence and sees that past the posturing, past the day-to-day survival, past all the power struggles, the end point is just a complete void. It's a sobering thought for sure, but one that is absolutely crucial to understanding the mechanics of this monstrous universe.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the monsters of physics, move on to entropy, the inevitable fade, then tackle chaos, the cosmic dice, uncover the illusion of order, and wrap up with chaos in our bloodstream.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the monsters of physics.
So, meet our weird cast of characters. And what's really fascinating here is that each of these seemingly random monsters actually represents a very specific, totally inescapable force of the universe. The fairy? She isn't just out there sprinkling magic dust. She's the literal embodiment of energy loss. The giant alien is the physical limit of power recognizing its own ultimate uselessness. The zombies represent nature's blind consumption and background static, while the Allosaurus, well, he's the raw, unfiltered violence of prehistoric survival.
Which brings us to Section 2, entropy, the inevitable fade.
The fairy actually explicitly links her actions to entropy, framing it as the arrow of time that just pushes forward, completely regardless of our delusional desires. She points out that we lose our concentration, our optimism, our will to keep going. We usually just brush that off as a psychological slump, right? But she reveals it's a fundamental physical law. If something isn't needed, nature simply lets it dissipate. And yeah, that includes our optimism.
And this brilliantly illustrates the fairy's literal mechanism. Think of it like a microscopic biological heist. She playfully talks about flitting away with baskets full of adenosine triphosphate, which is the actual energy currency of our cells. When our mind secretly denies a need for it, she just swoops in and borrows those molecules. It totally proves her point that we're all really just robotic biological machines. For some, she says, it feels like a biological switch has just been turned off permanently.
Building on this idea of an inevitable fade, the giant alien takes it a step further. He questions if time or free will even exist objectively, knowing that nothingness is the only actual guarantee. He exists in what he describes as an infernal realm, where nature's chaotic randomness has already decided everything long prior. I mean, even with all his massive strength and physical size, he recognizes that only death halts his progress. And after that, there is only nihilo, pure nothingness.
Moving right along to Section 3, chaos, the cosmic dice.
If entropy is the slow leak in your tire, chaos is the blowout on the highway. Zombie 4 defines this perfectly as background static. It's like an unpredictable avalanche that just happens due to immense physical pressure, completely devoid of any deeper meaning. He actually mocks the whole idea that nature operates in psychological rationals. An avalanche happens because of the snow and the physical pressure. It's a chaotic randomness that is basically impossible to calculate. It just is. Nature doesn't deal in fairness, guys. It deals in mechanics and chaos.
The Allosaurus maps this chaos out over millions of years to prove a really harsh point. Surviving the asteroid wasn't about strength, it was just stupid luck. Think about it. They were the ultimate apex predators, possessing this raw evolutionary psychopathy. Yet all that physical supremacy meant absolutely nothing when that universally unlucky asteroid hit. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. It perfectly illustrates that survival isn't some reward for being the best. It's just the chaotic cosmic dice rolling in your favor.
Section 4. The illusion of order.
So what on earth do we do when we realize the universe is just static and avalanches? Well, we try to hide from it. But as Zombie 4 and the Allosaurus point out, our artificial constructs are just nefarious attempts to pretend we aren't ruled by those exact same chaotic forces. We build economies and massive bureaucracies of hope to convince ourselves we're safe from the avalanche. We trade raw actualities for symbols and artificial nonsense, desperately hoping to mask our vulnerable mortal realities.
And get this, even the brainless Zombie 2, who demands a reduction in responsibilities and hoards resources, is technically more honest than societies that build systems entirely contrary to their actual values. Zombie 2 complains about others seeking handouts, while simultaneously wanting people to fund the broadcast of his undead tripe. But he openly admits his core drive is pure ego and consumption. Modern societies operate on that exact same self-interest, but they bury it under layers of false vows and pretend altruism. So yes, you heard that right. A brain-eating zombie actually has more integrity than human bureaucracy. Let that sink in.
And this brutally stark quote from Zombie 4 reminds us that nature simply does not care about our constructed illusions of fairness, meaning, or safety. If corruption is the air these modern societies breathe, he asks, why would anyone expect them to genuinely care about others' lives? The universe is incredibly indifferent. The sun doesn't weep for Pluto, right? And the chaotic forces of reality absolutely do not care about the artificial rules we've invented for ourselves.
Finally, let's look at Section 5. Chaos in our bloodstream.
The Allosaurus chillingly observes that the exact same evolutionary psychopathy from the prehistoric era was passed down to everything alive today, like some sort of infernal gene. We love to think we're fundamentally different from those apex predators violently roaming the Earth millions of years ago. But the Allosaurus argues that we just found a more insidious, nefariously subtle way to express that exact same raw survival drive.
We might have involved furry coats like cats to manipulate our environment, a physical trait literally designed to affect the minds of humans so the cat gets exactly what it wants, or we might have built towering bureaucracies of hope, but the raw drive for survival at all costs is still running the machine. It manifests in varying degrees, sure, but beneath the symbols and the vows, that prehistoric psychopathy, that drive to consume and dominate amid the chaos, is still deeply, deeply embedded in our biology.
So I want to leave you with this final, rather provocative thought to ponder. Are we truly in control for our carefully constructed lives, or are we just temporary switches waiting for the universe's entropy to flip us off? Next time you look at the complex systems all around you, ask yourself if they're actually shielding you from the chaotic background static of nature, or if they're just a very elaborate, very delusional pretense. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the physics of monsters, and remember to keep questioning the reality around you.